For today's tabletop testing, we're going to be looking at Archaludon EX. It has the Assemble Alloy ability, allowing us to attach 2 basic metal energy from our discard pile to our metal Pokemon in any way that we like, making this a very self-sufficient Stage 1 Pokemon. It also has 300 hit points, very bulky for a Stage 1 EX. Even more so thanks to its Metal Defender attack, which removes its fire weakness. Definitely going to be really important to protect ourselves against Radiant Charizard, alongside other strong fire types in the meta. Because of this natural bulk, in addition to the ability where we can power up an Archaludon EX all in one turn, we are leaning towards the 2 Professor Churro scenario in the deck list, when we have opportunities to tank and buy a turn off our opponents. Against some of the lower damage output matchups, we buy that turn back for free, and gain massive advantage because of it. That 220 damage output isn't ideal from Archaludon, so we are weaving in the maximum belts as our A-spec of choice, so we can push through some basic EXs a little bit cleaner. And we also have the Defiance Band in the 60 as well to do a similar deal. But bear in mind that we also have the Relicanth option here with that memory dive, because the Duraludon we're choosing to play has the Raging Hammer attack. For 2 metal and 1 colourless, we deal 80 plus 10 for each damage counter on this Pokemon. That means that cards that fall short, possibly like Regidrago V-Star, Palkia V-Star, many of these attackers will get sort of around that 200 damage output range, and that's when Raging Hammer becomes absolutely insane for us, giving us some one-hit KO potential into V-Star matchups. We do still fall a little bit short into the stage 2, so there are a couple TM Devolution in the deck as well here. We're going to try and dance around, hit multiple targets and get a Devo play off against them. The supporting cast includes Radiant Greninja, ditching those energies is going to be really important, and Bibarel in here to top us up on cards. But beyond that, it's a very straightforward 60. We're intentionally not playing any basic V or EXs in the list, because we want to force that awkward prize map, leaning into the bulk of Archaludon EX, to make life difficult for the opponent. One interesting card we're choosing to play right now is the Metal Bridge Archaludon, which allows us to have free retreat on Pokemon with metal energy attached. Ultimately, this may not be worth it, could even just be better as a switch in the deck, because we already have some Turo, the Palpad, and the Arven anyway. But we just wanted to see how this card would function, really. Towards the end of the video, I'm going to suggest some other changes after more testing, so stay tuned for that. But for now, let's get into some games. If you're looking for PTCG live codes, make sure you check out the Potown store. You can get a 5% discount on your orders using that code, OmniPoke. So after a couple of mulligans, Jack has finally found a basic, and I'm going to be playing Raging Bolt on the left. Jack is on the Archaludon EX list on the right. He has Duraludon and an Artazon, so we'll be able to access another basic here. Let's see what else is going on in his hand. I see Boss, Rod, Ultra Ball, so maybe he wants to work towards a Bibarel here if he wants to get towards any draw. It's a little bit risky because this maybe is only basic Dura, and that sounds pretty rough, but his hand is also just abysmal in terms of lack of draw, so wants to actually have Bidoof as the priority here. And we'll just have to pass things over, so there's an opportunity for me to take out Jack's only attacker here. I'm going to start by bouncing the stadium and instantly Pokestopping and getting a triple threat. You'll love to see it, the Vessel coming in. And I can get rid of a Fighting to get a Lightning in a Grass. So we're thinning towards the gear that we just hit, as well as hopefully just getting rolling with our energy in the discard pile for that Sada in the first place. You can see then there is the Pokegear coming in. And it is a whiff, so Jack may have dodged a bullet there, actually. Not sure if I have much else going on in this hand, to be honest with you. I have my own boss. If I want to do like a slow burst roar, perhaps. Yeah, it's going to be boss, the Bidoof, and then a horrible burst roar. Lots of my energy retrievals going down straight away. Yeah, that is rough. That gear whiff was a problem. Passing over to Jack, he has a terrible Pokestop of his own. So neither of us are really doing what we want to do. He just got rid of a couple supporters and a Bibarel. Let's see, does he need to Rod before this just to get Bibarel back? Yeah, he's going to do that. He might also just wanted to have done it to get his hand size lower, to actually draw from this Bibarel in the first place. But yeah, both of us having a pretty poor opener. You really want to be discarding energy for the Archaludon EX. But that's not here. I'm going to see a couple tools, so Jack can draw 4. Finally does find a supporter and a backup Duraludon. So that's something. He's going to throw away these TM Devos. It's not the matchup for those at all. And then he'll see 6 fresh cards. Ooh, weird hand. Lots of Ball Search. He can get another Bidoof down, maybe get Greninja down as well. It's lots of Ball Search, but it's just another, like, slow passing turn, I suppose. Oh, so he prized the Greninja as well. That's pretty awkward. One of the crucial ways that you draw in the opening stages, but also discard your energy as you go. But he can at least fail 1 Nest Ball, then play 2 more, because he really needs Bibarel draw. So yeah, seeing all 4 Nest Ball from that Iono is bizarre. But it has meant that he's established a lot of those basics, at least. I think he's considering a Pal Pad. Yeah, he's going to put 1 Boss, 1 Research back, by the looks of things. No, he's just going to hold on to the Pal Pad for now, and then just pass things over to me. I have my own Nest Ball after this burst rule. Let's see how the hand's treated me. I can get an Ogerpon, at least. Lots of energy in my hand by the looks of things. I'm going to stop. I lose 2 of my Ogerpon as well. That's pretty horrific. I think I lost a Stretcher and 2 of my energy retrievals in that last burst roar, so that's pretty awkward. My hand actually is pretty abysmal, to be honest with you. Yeah, so I just have to take the knockouts. Really, really rough, to be honest. Just holding on to gusting pieces when Jack's Bibarel was the best thing I could KO. This is a huge fiesta. Another complete air on Pokestop for Jack. He did get rid of a Metal Energy at least, so that's maybe something, but it was another boss that he had to get rid of. So now he'll Pal Pad, and he'll get a fresh 5 from this Bibarel. Needs still a bit, though. Needs to somehow find a way of discarding another energy here. Let's see, what does he get into? The Arven, does that help him get there? Maybe Vessel or Ultra Ball can help do the business. Defiance Band and Ultra Ball, so he will be able to get a fully powered Archaludon with this discard of the second metal, joining the one that just got Pokestopped away. So we can grab that Archaludon EX. And thanks to the maximum belt A-spec, he will be taking a knockout here. Gonna see the alloy build. What's it called in English? The Assemble Alloy ability. And Jack's going to take the first 2 prize KO, which is actually one of the boasts of Archaludon. You have this all 1 prize approach. You don't play any of the like bench sitting 2 prizes. So this very much is trying to be like similar to like a Goldengo almost, where you have that 1 prize board state for a turn, then you turn into this 2 prizer, and with its bulk and with its base damage, with the tool buffs that we have in the 60, it should have means of getting through, especially the counter catches as well, to get around like Bravery Charms, ways of knocking out lots of 2 prizes. And this is being demonstrated here. Even though I've had a slower turn, I was still forced for a 1 prizer. Let's see the Ogerpon. It gets me a Pokegear. Can I finally see a Sada here? Yes, I can. So I might be able to get a bounce back here. Only problem is we saw Jack get the Defiance last turn from the Arven. We're going to draw 3 from the Raging Bolt. We're going to get the Fez as well. We're then going to see 3 more cards. I'm going to play a Pokemon Catcher. Does get Tails. I think the plan would have been just Bibarel there, go back to even prizes, maybe make it harder for Jack to do stuff. If I could have gusted, maybe attacked with Sandy Shocks into the Bibarel, maybe that's a plan for later. I'm going to have to weave in this Sandy Shocks if I'm going to win a race, right? Because I'm going to need that at some point. But we're throwing away all these energies because of that 300 hit point baseline. Just showing the bulk is still handy. Jack was able to take the Greninja from prizes, which is really nice to keep him ticking over. There is the Defiance Band, which is online, and we see the Archaludon EX building back or assembling 2 more energy. Then Bibarel draws for Jack. Does find an energy to turn attach. And he has got a boss as well. He's going to target down Fez. I don't really love that play. Like, you're cashing in on the Defiance while you have it. And I'm basically forced to take a single prize with my single prize, right? That's like the only line I have available. So Jack holding boss there I think is actually probably the best thing he could have done. I do have Sada, and I think the plan is definitely for me to use the second attack on Sandy Shocks to KO Bibarel. I think that's like the only thing I can do here to stay in the game. There's the dance from Ogerpon. There's the attachment onto Sandy Shocks. And there is Prime Catcher on Bibarel. This play feels a lot better when a boss was spent on the previous turn as well. Obviously hindsight's 2020, but I'm gonna Vessel. The thing is, like, Jack was just in that ahead position, so just like holding boss for next turn just felt so good there for me. Unless he has another one in hand. No, he doesn't. I'm able to Night Stretch and get back another Ogerpon, and then I'm going to Energy Retrieval, because I still need to have enough energy to get through an Archaludon on the bench if my plan goes accordingly. I need to get a boss back into the mix, because if Jack's going to whiff Gust, he may just go into, like, Greninja, for example, this turn, just a one retreat pivot, and then make me have Gust again. And we're just going to push that one prize, and let's see, Jack has the Archaludon. Does he have a way to get towards boss? Well, he is holding onto a Pokegear, so he has Pokegear and Greninja draw, so he has 9 cards to see. And he did pad those... Sorry, yeah, he padded those bosses back, remember? So I think there's one boss in the deck. Let's see, Greninja draws 2. His deck must be pretty thin at this point. He's been barreling throughout. We'll see. There is the gear. And he does find the boss's orders, so he can close out the game there. Pretty decent stuff, even to have lost the Bibarels and had a fairly slower start his side, still able to race effectively, thanks to the fact that you can keep that one prize board against a Raging Bolt. So next up it's going to be me playing Dragapult, Dusknoir, and you can see I've got the Tatsugiri start and that Duraludon in the active for Jack. He's going to go first. He has the Nest Ball. His hand's awkward though. He has both of his TM Devos, which are quite important in this matchup, but they're mostly just great against Charizard, so you can like punch multiple stage 2s and Devo them to sort of stay out of Charizard damage range for a while, but they're still helpful against Dragapult, obviously, but you can just still try and two-shot through this matchup, but it is going to be the Search Bidoof Attach Pass, and that's pretty much all he needs coming up against this slower archetype. Having a Poffin, a double Poffin start with the Tatsu opener as well is pretty much the dream for a Dragapult player. I think I saw Candy in hand for next turn. I'm holding Candy Forest Arven. My hand is disgusting. I can Vessel for Psychic Fire here, discarding a Psychic as we go. And then I can start attracting some customers to my side, perhaps. Let's see the top 7. Top 6, I should say. And we do get an Arven, and I'll be playing the Arven. That means we can board the Tatsu, and also grab that Rotom to end on an instant charge. And the question is, do I want to protect this Rotom? Oh, sorry, this Tatsugiri. Probably do want to, right? It's such a helpful piece. It's not too much to ask for Jack to get the KO. The only thing about committing the board now is that, you know, I've spent a turn attachment on this Dreepy, and, like, is that attachment possibly wasted if I just go into a different Dreepy? But I'm still just going to end on the 3 cards. I think because my hand is so ridiculous anyway that I made that judgment call. Jack does end up researching the lots, has to find... Well, ideally it's Radiant Greninja here, right, to help push towards that attack with Archaludon. He's able to nest for Dura. Has he prized the Greninja again? Oh, that's rough. He's going Dura here. Yeah, this is not where you want to be. Greninja's such an important card in the deck. He's just going to manually attach to the bench Duraludon and then swing for 30 and get some chip damage in. My hand again is looking just phenomenal from last turn. I've still got that Forest to play. I've got Switch in hand. I've got... So yeah, I can dig with Tatsugear if I want to. I've already got Candypult Energy, so I don't even need Crystal this turn. I have so much going for me. This is just like the best possible draw, I think, for a Pulse player. I'm going to Forest, and it's going to be for Arven. So if I'm grabbing Crystal, that means I'm going to be evolving active. So I can Candypult active. And then I've even got Ultra Ball in hand, so maybe, yeah, this Poffin's probably just Ultra Ball fodder, so I can get a Dracloak. So I can Candy into the active, Cloak the benched with the energy, so I can continue to draw cards and threaten that next Pult quite happily. Just cheekily seeing 3 cards there, no big deal. I'm gonna Candy into a Pult, there's the Crystal. And we can take the first knockout while setting up the Bidoof, of course. Want to deny Jack that Bibarel if I can. And seeing as I've just taken a 1-prize KO, getting back onto even prizes is definitely reasonable with that Bibarel later, as he's going to Defiance Band and Iono. Does find Ultra Ball and some energy, as well as an Archaludon, so he can evolve this turn and get an attack in with the Assemble Alloy. Actually, he's going to evolve into Bibarel. Oh, yes, because he's got multiple arches already in hand. There are the 2 Metal Energy. Going to see the manual attachment to the bench so that he can draw 4 into just a bunch of supporters by the looks of things. But he's going to be swinging for 250 with the Defiance. So that should be 280 total, right? The world is pretty much my oyster this turn. I think the best thing that I could do is get a Dusknoir on the active, so I could take out active and Bibarel. And there is the Dusknoir. It's going to be, yeah, on the active. I can replay a Skull as well, so I'm threatening game next turn with another Dusknoir pop. And I'm leaving Jack engineless with just 1 Dura in play and a lot of prizes still to take. So I will take that 3-prize swing, finishing off the Bibarel that we set up and dealing with the big 300 hit point stage 1. Not much else of that turn. I didn't play a supporter card. That is one of the issues of playing a no Pidgeot list. You kind of just play off the hand and the recon directive after the strong openers. But it was definitely good to 1-hit KO the Archaludon, because you don't want to play into what was just discarded by Jack, the Churro scenario, of course. Have to try and cleanly KO this guy, otherwise your opponent's going to start gaining advantage on you, buying turns back with the healing. So instead Jack's going to Arven for Ultra Ball and Max Belt. Then going to be Ultra Balling away Metal in a Research, and we'll grab another EX. He can then assemble to the active, and at the very least he can take a KO, but I'm not sure what else he can construct here. Yeah, just going to be 2 prizes, and I think I'm probably quite close to closing game here. I basically just need to make a Dragapult with one of these Ultra Balls and then find Candy Dusknoir. I think I'm already holding on to Candy as well, so I'm very close with these recon directives, so much so that I can Tatsu first. But Arven should be away towards game if I have Night Stretcher or Candy or something along those lines. Just going to make sure I check what's what. Yeah, we're going to play out the Arven and see if that can be the final piece that I need. Yeah, we can get the Night Stretcher for the Dusknoir, Candy Dusk, Ultra Ball for Pult, and that's your lot. Yeah, disgusting draw from Dragapult there. I don't think many decks beat that opener. Poffin, Arven with the Tatsu start and the Rotom draw. Yeah, just so strong from the Pult side. So for the final game, it's going to be up against Terapagos Dusknoir, and Jack's going to get to go first with that Bidoof, and does top deck the Duraludon, always the way. has a couple Nest Ball, I think, in the opening hand. Let's have a look here. Spying another Dura by the looks of things. I've started the Fan Rotom, which could be threatening a KO, but I'm only playing Turbos in the Turtle list, but there's the chance that there's the Jet Energy, so it might be something to think about. Jack's hand again is a little bit weird. It's just like bosses and stage 1s. He does have the Radiant Greninja pickup though, which is something that's been lacking the first couple of games just because of awkward prizes. And we'll just pass things over. I can get the Fan Call from Rotom straight away, which is pretty massive. My hand is kind of funky, I think. I think I'm holding on to Candy Pidgeot, but I prized Pidgey. And I think I don't have a way towards a Terra, if I remember rightly. I'm going to have to see the hand again. But I think I had that grief situation of just getting Hoots and Owls, which looks like unsuspicious and pretty normal. But I think I'm not going to have access to the Pidgeot, which would be the only thing that like unlocks this hand, really. Yeah, I've got Candies, Night Stretchers, DTE. Yeah, everything. Like, I'm not drawing any cards unless I draw into a Bull Search card next turn. Jack has the Arven, which can start unlocking this hand a little bit after the Radiant Greninja. Looks like TM Devo is just going to be fodder for this Ultra Ball. Well, first things first, it's going to be a Metal Energy. Maybe Jack's thinking of getting rid of supporters so we can lower further for Bibarel draw. It's just going to be an Archaludon. Then he'll grab Bibarel. Nope, it's going to be a Duraludon instead. Yeah, Jack eventually does change his mind and gets rid of the Devo rather than the Archaludon, and then just evolves up, gets a couple energy floated, and passes things over our way. And my hand stinks, so we attach pass. It's one of those tough things. The Terapagos is such a consistent deck, and still sometimes you just end up with nothing. It's poke after all. Jack's going to Defiance the Dura on the bench, and then is going to look to research. Does have access to Ultra Ball if he wants to dig further with Bibarel. He's drawn into the Turo as well now, which is one of the ways he can move. The other thing you could do is you could evolve into a benched Archaludon, the single prizer. But it requires energy on the active anyway, so even that doesn't get him an attack this turn. So he's going to nest out another Duraludon. One of the small weaknesses of this list is that Bibarel can be annoying to shift sometimes. It's going to be a couple draws with that Bibarel and then just passing over. I do get the Hisuian. You can see the Pidgey comes out now. It's probably the worst Ball Search I could have hit because all the others unlock me Terapagos and then into Noctowl straight away. But at least Hisuian gives me a Pidgey for next turn. So there's a chance. There's a chance I can Pidgeot next turn and do something. I'm going to attach to Fan Rotom and pass to Jack. The idea being that Jack probably wants to target other things than this, so I can have that pivot if need be. But also on the flip side, it can give Jack the incentive to take out the active as well and be content with that play. Because I know that Pidgeot can be a free retreater for me anyway next turn. Jack's actually going to Iono away my Candy Pidgeot, which is quite annoying. I've worked so hard to get this guy out, wasted so many turns. But Jack probably still isn't going to attack me this turn because he needs the Churro really to get out, or the Metal Bridge, and that would still spend an attachment. I think the only way he could do it was with like another Assemble plus an attachment to the active, plus a bridge. You can see why he's debating the attachment. I think it should just go onto the EX, though, on the bench. Has to still make the most sense, right? He's thinking like he would have to draw into exactly EX and non-EX for it to be wrong to attach there. And just ends up passing. So a bit of a cat and mouse opener. I can finally nest ball out a turtle. And the game might be heating up a little bit now. Do I finally have something I can do? Yes, I have a Noctowl. Exciting times. Incredible stuff. We're going to get an Area 0, firstly. What are we? We can see I'm mapping things out. This is definitely one of those decks where you have to think about all the avenues. I don't need the damage of Area 0 this turn, so we are just going to opt for Candy Pidge in the end instead, via the Featherball Candy. Then I'm going to Churro up Noctowl, so I have access to that next turn. As my supporter, and I can pay retreat to the Fan Rotom. Then I can weave in the cheeky Artazon, so I can get the free Hoot Hoot and hold one in hand. We're actually going to use Noctowl again, the second one now. Am I up Candy? Am I trying to make a pretty sneaky play here? No, it's going to be 0 plus Nest Ball. 0's coming in, Nest Ball for another Turtle. And Duskull and Hoot Hoot. And then we still have Quick Search. After all of that, we're just taking a single prize KO, but as we know, this deck can work wonders with its prize map, with the Briar and with Dusknoir later down the line, so even single prizes are handy in this case, especially because it's dealing with the main draw engine of Jack's list. But he's really struggled to move that Bibarel this whole time, so at least a small relief for him. He's going to Vessel away Metal Energy to get a couple more into the mix. Can continue to cycle with Radiant Greninja. And we'll do so. Has the Counter Catcher pickup, although dealing with Turtle does seem fairly reasonable here. See a Pokegear. Finds Research, but his hand's pretty large. May have been fishing for something else there. It's the hand that discardable. Doesn't look great to discard down. He's taking a look at some resources. 3 energy in the discard pile, I think. I'm got Churro. There's the maximum bout, and he'll just take the KO. So we're going to go into Pidgeot, and straight away we have Noctowl. So we have access to lots of options here. Looks like Night Stretcher might be one of the choices. What am I looking at here? The thing about Archaludon is it's absolutely massive. So I'd probably have to like set up damage with Dusknoir or with some other pieces here. I am going to Candy Dusk. We're going to attach to Pidgeot, and then we're going to Quick Search and Research for 7. So we've emptied the hand quite nicely. Oh, we're going to change things up for an Iono, because Jack's hand is quite large, and he doesn't have Bibarel, so it's actually a relatively reasonable time to do that. We are doing it before the Dusknoir, though, so maybe that's not something we're doing this turn. Maybe I'm just doing a prep damage play with Pidgeot here, and saying that 280 is out of range of Archaludon, so I may as well just get the free damage in while I can. I'm also just going to discard the Area 0 just to open up Night Stretchers for my hand. I think that's the idea here. So I just want to try and dodge a Turo ideally here. If I can dodge Professor Turo, I've bought that essentially free turn. Also, I guess Gust would also be a problem. Boss would also be awkward on my Terapagos. That's going to Greninja for a couple cards. Does have the Turo. Does he also have the boss? It's close, actually. I'm not sure what's better. Yeah, that's going to boss up Terapagos. This does put him down to 2 prize cards, so it limits my Dusk usage, of course. But let's see how I can close out this one. I do straight away have the Turtle and Night Stretcher. So I'm straight back into Noctows. This is why I discarded Stadium last turn. Or the previous turn. I'm going to re-establish Area 0. And then we're going to Nest Ball. So it looks like I'm probably eyeing up a Blood Moon Ursaluna. That could KO the active. And then I can blow up a benched Greninja at the same time. And then I'm hoping to, like, sponge for a bit, or hoping that just Hand Disruption can help me close. It's definitely not easy, but there's a way that I can disrupt at least, like, Greninja and Jack's hand at the same turn, and maybe Jack misses, like, turn attachment plus EX. And I buy, like, that follow-up turn. I'm going to Fez for 3 cards. And I'm going to Dusknoir Jack's Greninja here. We both take 1. Jack goes down to 1, so the Iono should be really hindering him in theory. That you have to assume is incoming. I'm going to Vitality Band the Terapagos. And then we'll Quick Search inevitably for that Iono. That's coming down Jack's way now. Oh, am I going to weave anything else in? Looks like I'm just weaving in an Ultra Ball. Looks like Briar's not going to be much of a card in my plans. Just going to get a Duskull down. That's also not in the plans, but it's at least a basic that I can thin. That's going to have 1. And then Blood Moon will come in and finish off the Archaludon. The good news is Jack has a couple turns to try and make something come together. He has Energy Vessel. And poking for 30 is actually massive here, to be fair. Does that set up the Blood Moon? Actually, no, it doesn't set up Blood Moon, right? We might still be in decent shape. There's a swing for 30. Now let's see. Well, I can take a KO with Terapagos if I can Churro up the active, perhaps. Oh, I have Thornton, okay. So I can Thornton into the Turtle. So that was my switch out, but this is where things are awkward. The 30 damage on the Terapagos now is the big problem. Because if Jack can draw into Archaludon, he'd get there. But no, it's just a Vessel. Is he a card short? Could he have been able to do it? Nope. We do get there in the end with Terapagos. A sneaky line of victory at the end just with the Hand Disruption. So after a few games with the archetype, yes, I do think Dusknoir is going to be somewhat of an issue for this approach, where your opponent can play around the Turo, which is kind of one of the big selling points of this deck. It's also somewhat of a concern that we can't really push through the big Stage 2 EXs of the meta, especially the fact that we can't cleanly KO a Pidgeot EX, meaning that those archetypes could construct big combos against us, which isn't too great. I do think this should be pretty solid into the majority of basic racing archetypes, because we represent that easy single prize board state, and then thanks to our tool buff cards, as well as counter catches and bosses, we have so many avenues to win in 3 attacks after the opponent's just taken a single prize KO. Archaludon seems to be one of these cards that's going to be quite consistent, low to the ground, easy to set up, but it's also quite an inherently fair archetype, and can do nowhere near the same sort of flashy plays that many decks look towards in this current format. Let me know your thoughts on the deck list itself, what you would change about the 60, and what your thoughts about the battles. Do you think Archaludon has what it takes to succeed just by being a straightforward 7 out of 10 every game that you play, or do we need more power spikes in our decks? I'll hear it all down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow for another video. Cheers.